I think your focus on fiscal stimulus is really important.
Right.
How do we help American families that live too often paycheck to paycheck get through this difficult time where they may lose their job or otherwise face more difficult circumstances? So I think your leadership on fiscal stimulus is really thoughtful and appreciated. And then all of us in this room know that the financial markets are working to help America. The interest rates changes that we've seen both in the Fed and in the bond markets create an unprecedented opportunity for Americans to refinance their mortgages at a dramatically lower rate, which is really good for American households, or to have the opportunity to buy their first house or a new house for their growing families. So the markets have worked as we would hope at this moment of time to help provide stimulus to the entire economy through meaningfully lower interest rates.
Great job you've done, too. Please.
Mr. President, Gordon Smith,
And
JP Morgan Chase.
how is Jamie doing?
Jamie's doing well.
All right, say hello to him.
I will,
All right?
I will, for
I
sure.
hear he's doing fine.
He's making great progress,
Good.
so thank you. Thank you very much for asking. So the bank has very rigorous resiliency plans, both in the United States and around the world. All of those are underway right now. All of our plans are designed, obviously, to protect and help our people and to protect consumers and small businesses. We'll be there with forbearance plans. We'll be there to waive fees for consumers and small businesses who are under stress. And I think a very fair question is, are we still lending? And over the course of the last 40 days at JP Morgan, we've extended $26 billion worth of loans to both consumers and small businesses. And that's, as I say, over the last 40 days. We looked a little bit at at Seattle, which has been a center of the virus, and economic growth is still continuing. So we see it's slowed down significantly, but people are still going to restaurants, for example. We still see that people are buying food to be delivered by the new delivery services. And interestingly, in the data, we also see the pullback is much more about from the older generation, my age, than it is from the millennial generation. So millennial generation spend seems to be holding up very well.
I think there'll be a pent-up demand when this is gone. I think that everything that maybe we're stamped down now, people are leaving their homes.
Yes.
I think you're going to see a tremendous pent-up demand, which hopefully won't be in the too distant future. Please.
Mr. President, we're not waiting for the customer or small business to call the banks. We are proactively reaching out to the customer and small businesses, waiving fees, making sure we can refinance a loan when possible. We're up 79% versus last year in refi. Still going to take a little while to find out how much the effect really is.
Right, Richie. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody? Please.
Mr. President, I might just add, as I represent the community banks across this
Right.
country, rural markets, urban markets, suburban markets, they're standing ready, strong to support their communities, whether it be your very smallest businesses, the ag communities, the community banks are here to support and here to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just echo all the sentiments that you just heard, Mr. President, and thank you for convening the group. I would also add that, and echoing on something Rebecca said, we're also helping not just all the large globally active banks, but the 5,100 banks across the United States build continuity and resiliency programs so we can keep the banking system open to support our customers and clients who are, in many cases, are facing a time of need. That's what banks do. They stick by their customers in good times and in challenging times, and that's what all the banks in the United States are doing today.
Very focused, U.S. Bank, very focused on providing credit for small businesses.
Right.
They are the ones right now who are going to perhaps have a little bit of struggle. So getting the credit to them rapidly and also being very lenient on repayment terms.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you all. Yes, please.
If I may, Mr. President, you've heard that the financial system is strong, and I certainly echo that.
Yes.
But for those listening, the country is really strong. You've done a fantastic job, your administration. We're adding jobs. We need to all be more diligent in terms of our health management. We're learning that out of this. This is a long-term lesson to learn.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the United States of America, in my view, is very strong. And we need to remind ourselves that part of getting through a challenge like this is about confidence and supporting each other and having hope for the future. And for myself, I believe our best days are ahead. And working together, we'll make that happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'll be making a statement tonight, probably at 8 o'clock, and we'll be starting some additional solutions. We made a great decision on China and Asia, and they're healing, and they're healing at a pretty good rate. happy about that, and we could start to think about getting back involved in that part of the world. And as you know, we have another part of the world, Europe, that's in very tough shape, having a hard time right now with the virus. And we'll be making various decisions. You'll be hearing about them at approximately 8 o'clock tonight. Steve?
What sort of travel restrictions on Europe are you thinking? Are you going to announce?
I'll be letting you know that a little bit later.
Mr. President, are you going to be declaring a national disaster tonight?
We'll be talking about that later.
President,
All
you
those
said-
things we're making a decision on.
Mr. President, we have heard in the past of industries that are too big to fail. In your estimation, are the airlines, are the cruise lines, is the hotel industry too big to fail?
I think they're going to be great. I think the folks around this table are the ones that finance them, and they understand, and they're great companies, but we're having to fix a problem that 4 weeks ago nobody ever thought would be a problem. Nobody, you read about them. You read about them from 1917, and you read about them from lots of other times, but nobody thought that we would be seeing. We were just discussing that. This came out of nowhere, and actually came out of China, which is the way it works. But we are going to get the problem solved. And the country is so strong, the institutions are so strong. You know, in the past, you had problems with institutions. These are powerful institutions. They're built up. They're ready to go. And I know they'll be helping their customers during the short-term period. We think it's going to be a short-term
Do you mind if we
period.
ask the CEOs what they think a sort of stimulus package or measures might need to be made as a
I don't mind
response?
it. I mean, it's actually a very good question. I was going to ask it myself. If you've been hearing about the various forms, Brian, of stimulus, very different forms of stimulus. What would you say would be good, appropriate under these circumstances?
I think the first thing is to add fiscal stimulus in a time of stress is the absolutely right answer. I think anything that gets out to the most people. And so keeping people who are become underemployed or unemployed due to this, whole on their wages, or somehow supplementing that through unemployment and other types of programs, we think is a key thing. Because if you keep the broad group of American people with cash flow and money to buy goods and do things, the economy will be strong, and those individuals will have other people we should take care of, no question. In all our companies, anybody who's out for this virus is getting paid for as long as it takes, or anybody has high risk, we're all taking care of it. So I'd focus first on that level, and then the second major thing is take care of the health care problem, because the health care problem is what generates the conflict. So between testing and building up the hospitals so they can receive and do great work as American medical community and hospital community can do with the patients is critical. So instead, other than the broad base of people in the hospitals, I think businesses and other things, we'll get through this. But if we take care of those things, this thing will correct pretty quickly.
If we get rid of the problem quickly, everything solves itself. We don't need stimulus, so that'll be good. But we are talking about various forms of stimulus. What would you think, Michael?
I think to add on to what Brian said, the support of small business is critical.
Right.
You look at the employment and you look at the importance across our economy, and unfortunately, right now, small business is suffering from both sides. One is there's been disruption in their supply chains in terms of receiving their goods that they need. And the second, the other side of it is that there's uncertainty from the demand side in terms of what the future holds. So I think working with the banks in this room and well beyond, the SBA to be able to put programs in place around forbearance, to be able to potentially up the limits in terms of lending in these programs. And again, I think the things that have been used before effectively, and I think we can do it again.
Great. Thank you very much. Ken, go ahead.
So I think all of us in this room are very fortunate we're in a position to take care of our workforce. And I know that large corporate America is there 110% for their employees. The weak spot are the smaller businesses that don't have the financial flexibility. And in particular, our workers who are part of the gig economy. How do we think about where necessary direct fiscal support to the individuals in our economy who are least secure in their employment? You work for IBM, life's going to be fine. You work for Goldman Sachs, life's going to be fine. And if you are a part-time or gig worker, this is a moment of real trial. And this is where fiscal accommodation can be quite powerful.
Right. I agree with that 100%. Anybody?
I would say that stimulus is appropriate. I personally like what you have mentioned in terms of some form of adjustment of payroll tax, a holiday, or even a complete restructuring. It is a regressive tax, and it's something that could help in the short run and the long term, and help provide more support for the 70+% of the U.S. that need some help in terms of more savings and stability of livelihood. And so here's a chance maybe to do something to help the short run and the long term.
I think so. I think the payroll tax would be great. Democrats are not in favor of it. I'm trying to figure out why, because it would be something that would be very good for the citizens, for the people, and even longer term for the country. So that's a tax that people have long been talking about either cutting or getting rid of entirely. So Steve, what do you have?
Just say it's great to always have the bankers in because you have tremendous visibility into the economy and what's going on, and we are interested in hearing that feedback, particularly at small and medium-sized businesses in particular industries. We've cataloged for the president all of his executive authorities, which are quite significant. So there'll be various proposals he'll be rolling out quickly on that front, and we're also working with Congress on a bipartisan basis to be able to immediately help small and medium-sized businesses as well.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, what do you say to Americans who are concerned that you're not taking this seriously enough and that some of your statements don't match what your health experts are saying?
That's CNN, fake news. Go ahead, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Open that door. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Let's go, guys.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
8
much.
o'clock today. 8 o'clock today.
Thank you, Jim.
You'll be notified very shortly, but around here.
Economic or health announcements, or both?
Within 50 feet.
Economic or health announcements, or both?
Both.
Both.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
They killed this fucking mother.
Make them look at that pimp. Make them look at that pimp.
This happened. We didn't have contact information. Nobody was in contact with each other. So I need you to take justice.
Make them look at that pimp. Make them look at it.
Hello from Milan, which is the epicenter of the coronavirus crisis in Italy nowadays. You can still have lunch in restaurants, for now at least, but you can't have dinner. Every bar, restaurant, and pubs close at 6 p.m. You can still go outside to buy food, you can go to the grocery, you can go at a bakery, just one person at a time inside the shop. You can't go shopping in malls. If your girlfriend or boyfriend lives in another city, you can't go to visit him or her. You can go to help your elder parents or grandfathers, but just if you really need to and if they seek help. If they're fine, you can go to visit them. You can still get on a bus to go to work. Still, the local government has asked Premier Conte to ban all non-essential activity for the next 15 days. In that case, public transportation will be halted. But as you can see at the moment, there's not many people on the line to wait for a bus. For the moment, you can still go to the barber shop, but you have to book your appointment, and just one person at a time can be inside the barber shop with the barber itself, obviously. You can still go to work, but if you really have to be physically in the office, work from home is strongly recommended at the moment. You can get outside your place for a walk or for a run, or you can take your dog outside, but you can't make any other sporting activities. Gyms are closed, soccer games and other games are banned until April the 3rd, including the Serie A matches. You can still take trains and planes if you have to move inside the country, but you have to have justified business or health reason. You have to compile a form, and policemen will stop you at the train station or at the airport gate, asking while you are getting outside your city.
The problem in Libya is that there are too many children with heart disease for one surgeon to operate on. There are cardiologists spread out all over the country. There's only one surgeon, and he can only do about 300 cases a year. So after the revolution, we came in and we started working in the East. I think that if you look at the number of children that we've been able to operate since we've been here, it's now up to around 1,000 kids on both sides of the country. We're on both sides of the conflict zone, and that is a specific goal of ours, is to be apolitical and to help the children. You can create a sort of medical diplomacy between the two sides of the country, utilizing the children with heart disease as the issue to bring them together over. Training is critical for these individuals because we're not going to be here forever, and we shouldn't be here forever. We should be leaving behind independent, sustainable operating teams and care teams, and that's what we're trying to do. So we believe that by showing up, by being apolitical, by taking care of the children, by providing education, we can show people in these other countries where the perception of America might not be so good. But guess what? People in the United States are not necessarily the government of the United States, and that we're individuals who can bridge the gap and bring cultures together rather than split them apart.
We have enough time to enjoy life a little bit.
I always feel like if you work from home, you can have more freedom about things you do and how you structure your day.
I usually get up early in the 6:30 just because the long distance between my home and my